Good morning. Welcome to Grand River Unitarian Congregation. My name is Rev Jess, and I am joined this morning by our Spirit of Life choir, directed by Rich Ritzak, and by our choir accompanist, musical artist Liz Ashen Hill. Welcome back, Liz. And it is a very special joy this morning to welcome guests from St. Catherine's, members of our sibling congregation, the Unitarian Congregation of Niagara. I hear there are 15 of you visiting today. We are really honored to have you with us. Please know that our congregation aspires to continue to build connections among our communities so that Unitarian Universalism may thrive for generations to come. As Unitarian Universalists, we gather not by a common creed, but by a set of principles centered in love, celebrating inclusivity and diversity, and inspired by lessons and wisdom gleaned from history, experience, and the interconnected web of existence of which we humans are just one part of a whole and holy creation. Laura Bogle reminds us, this is our home, but not just ours. She writes, we gather here to remember this is our home, but not just ours. This land we live on, this water we drink, air we breathe, these old mountains that hold us steady to our ground, these forests that give us their healing green, these flowers that give us their beauty and fragrance, these fields that give us our daily bread, these stars that show us our place. The wilderness and the tame backyards, all of it our home. We remember the ancestors who have lived on this land and who have shaped it. The First Nations, Inuit and Métis, the settlers, the mountaineers, the farmers, the hunters, the immigrants, the artists, the families, the explorers, the business people, the engineers, the builders, the scientists, the teachers, the workers, the leaders. We inherit their choices. We honor the animals and creatures that have made their home in this land, the ones here now, and the ones that used to be here. We envision the future generations who will live on this land and let their voices fill our hearts. We gather here to remember this is our home, but not just ours. Whether this is your first time on a Sunday with us or your 500th time, we hope that you'll find here questions that stretch you, people to befriend you, and liberal religious values that challenge you to join us in loving boldly, living justly, and welcoming radically. Newcomers, you can find out more about us if you'll fill out a welcome card. These are found in the pews. You can just drop it in the offertory plate or hand it to an usher. And please see the back of today's order of service for a calendar of upcoming events. I have one announcement to highlight for you from our Defending Democracy team. They ask, join the Ontario Health Coalition on April 25th in province-wide rallies to save our public hospitals at noon in Waterloo Town Square. At the last rally for healthcare, 10% of participants were from this congregation. Yeah. Help make a big statement next Saturday in support of public hospitals and our healthcare workers who staff them. That's next Saturday, Waterloo Town Square at noon. And as usual, check the tab if you forget the details. And Corliss, would you stand up? She's one of the organizers of Defending Democracy, so you can talk to Corliss about this. Thank you for organizing us, Corliss. If you missed Charlie Angus's Zoom talk last week, you can check out the Defending Democracy bulletin board in Whitten Hall downstairs and help yourself to a copy of Charlie's 10 steps to resist fascism and defend democracy. Many of us will find affirmation for things we are already doing and some surprising suggestions for very doable actions to support democracy, our friends, our community, and ourselves. And now we have an announcement and an update from our stewardship chair, Brenda Bissell.
Hi, I'm Brenda Bissell. I'm just a member of the team, not the chair. It's hard to believe that in 7 short weeks, we're going to be saying goodbye to Rev Jess, who's resigning after 19 years as our beloved minister. And the question on everyone's mind is, what's next? What's next? Well, the search committee is in the process of looking for our next great minister. And I want you to imagine yourself in the shoes of a ministerial candidate. You're amazing. You're eloquent, creative, and personable. You're passionate about social justice. You have a knack for building community, and you're skilled in pastoral care. You're empathetic, energetic, and enthusiastic, and you're looking for a congregation that will be a great fit for you. The thing is, you are probably living far, far away from Kitchener-Waterloo. Accepting a call from Grand River Unitarian will likely involve uprooting your life. Maybe you have a partner or even children to consider. You'll be leaving home and be headed to a place with long and snowy winters where it's still cold at the end of April. You'll likely face mountains of immigration paperwork, and if you have kids, they'll be switching school systems and leaving their friends behind. What's next? There's a lot of uncertainty for any ministerial candidate who's considering making a long-distance move. How can we, the members and friends of Grand River Unitarian, attract a top-notch candidate and assure the person who could be our next great minister that they will be landing safely in a committed community that will support them? Pledges. Pledges. Enough pledges to cover our bills, including the minister's salary. Donations keep our doors open and our community alive, but a pledge is more than a financial contribution. A pledge is a formal statement of your intention to donate. It's a sign of commitment to the future, commitment to what's next. So if you plan to donate this year, or if you have a pre-authorized debit set up, please formally fill out a pledge form. 2, either a paper version, which can be found in your stewardship package, or the one found on our website. Pledges, not donations, are part of our congregation's profile on the ministerial search portal, so they are looking at that. Pledges will help attract our next great minister. Secondly, please consider increasing the amount that you pledge, especially if it hasn't changed in a couple of years. For the past 4 years, our givings have not kept up with our day-to-day expenses. There's a financial gap, and the board has dipped into our reserves, our savings, to pay the day-to-day bills. Using our savings to cover ordinary expenses is not an encouraging sign for a ministerial candidate, especially when it's happened for 4 years in a row. We need the average donor to increase their givings by $29 a month to signal financial stability to ministerial candidates. Of course, with groceries and gas and rent being what they are these days, not everybody can afford an increase of $29 a month. For some, any increase is impossible, and households on a tight budget might just increase their pledge by $5 or $10 a month. Every pledge is important. Every contribution is gratefully received and moves us closer to calling our next great minister. So, if you have the financial capacity right now, please consider increasing your pledge by more than $29 a month. Your generosity will sustain our beloved community during these difficult and uncertain times. And finally, Please turn in your pledge forms, either electronically via the website or in hard copy as soon as possible. Our ministerial search is underway right now, and the faster that we can update our pledge information, the more helpful that it will be in finding our next great minister.
Thank you to our stewardship team, Brenda and Margaret and Malou. I appreciate that. They rejected my suggestion for a stewardship campaign that said, pledges, I upped mine, up yours. I feel rejected. Let us let go now, just for a time, of the everyday world. Please turn off your cell phones. Please turn off your cell phones. Turn off your cell phones now. And those other reminders of the busy push and pull of attention-grabbing distractions and beeps and otherwise. Let's consent to just create space in this hour to simply be together. In the spirit of life and love, we gather. May the experience of this time prove useful and timely to all assembled here. Let us begin our celebration of Earth Day by rising in body or in spirit to sing our opening hymn in the gray hymnals, number 163. Unitarian Universalist poet Mary Oliver had some tough circumstances growing up. She said of her surviving personal trauma, "I got saved by poetry, and I got saved by the beauty of the world." This is her poem, Mornings at Blackwater Pond. For years, every morning, I drank from Blackwater Pond. It was flavored with oak leaves and also, no doubt, the feet of ducks. And always, it assuaged me from the dry bowl of the very far past. What I want to say is that the past is the past, and the present is what your life is, and you are capable of choosing what that will be, darling citizen. So come to the pond, or the river of your imagination, or the harbor of your longing, and put your lips to the world and live your life. Kathy, will you light the chalice? Let this flame be to us a symbol of the wholeness we seek. Its glow reminding us of the sacred bonds which link us to all people. Its radiance calling us to seek justice, equity, and compassion for all the world. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together. Children of all ages are invited forward for a special story with Nick.
Good morning. Today's story is called Dinosaurs and All That Rubbish. It's by Michael Foreman. A man stood on a hill and looked at a star. All he thought about, dreamed about, was the star. Grass grew high and trees grew tall. The man climbed to the top of a tree and tried to reach the star, but he was nowhere near it. The trees filled with birds which flew still nearer the star. "I must fly," said the man. "I have money and I have many men working for me. I must fly. Somehow I must fly." The man owned some factories nearby. "Build me a rocket," he ordered. "Cut down the trees, dig out the coal, burn whatever will burn, and build me a rocket to reach the stars." All day and all night, the fires of the factories huffed and puffed. Smoke and fumes and waste and rubbish poured out and piled up. At last, the rocket was ready. But there was nowhere for it to be launched. Everywhere was piled high with heaps of waste from the factories. The man took his rocket to the top of a heap and set off for the star. When he landed on the star, the man looked about him. There was nothing to see. He walked and walked, looking for something to admire, but all there was nothing. No trees, no flowers, and not a blade of grass. Sadly, he looked around, but the only thing of wonder was another star far off in the black sky. "I will go to that star," said the man, and away he went in his rocket. On Earth, the piles of rubbish smoldered and burned, and the mountains rumbled. Far below the surface, the heat disturbed the sleep of dinosaurs, who had lain hidden away for hundreds of years. They heaved and stretched, the earth cracked, and out came all sorts of creatures. A dinosaur held up his nose as he looked around. "Pooh!" he said. "There is nothing in this planet but mess. If we are going to live here, we'll have to get busy." Some of the dinosaurs burned rubbish in volcanoes. Dancing dinosaurs broke up the roads. As the rubbish was cleared, green shoots appeared, bursting through cracks and climbing over old, forgotten walls. Telegraph poles and iron pylons vanished beneath trailing blossoms, and a fresh new forest of flowers and trees spread like a smile around the world. And all this time, the man was headed for his new star, unaware that it was the very same planet Earth he had once left behind. He landed in a jungle, alive with beautiful plants, sweet with the smell of flowers, and filled with the song of birds. At last, he said, I have found my paradise. Whose paradise? Said the biggest dinosaur. Mine, said the man. Rubbish, said the dinosaur. What do you mean by rubbish? Said the man. You can't talk to me like that. Why, with a head as small as yours, you can't possibly have enough brain to look after the star. Our heads are the same size, said the dinosaur, but my heart is much bigger than yours. If you had been ruled by your heart instead of your head, you would have not destroyed this paradise before. I destroyed it, said the man. You mean this is Earth? Yes, it is, said the dinosaur. But it can't be, said the man. It is, said the dinosaur. The man looked around about him and saw that the dinosaur was right. Please, may I have a small part of it back? He asked. Please, just a hill, or a tree, or a flower? No, said the dinosaur. Not a part of it, but all of it. It is all yours, but it is also all mine. Remember that. This time, the earth belongs to everyone, not parts of it to certain people, but all of it to everyone, to be enjoyed and cared for. Yes, everyone, sang the birds and the cats and the mice and the mammoths and the serpents and the dodos and the apes. Everyone, came the chorus from all living things. Everyone, everyone.
Good morning. My name is Asha Filar, and I've been attending GRU on and off since about 2016, and I joined as a member a few years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but I could have fact-checked that before I came up here. I participate in GRU in many different ways, including in the choir, usually, as an usher, helping with coffee hour. I've been on the nominating committee, and I participate in other activities which help me connect with folks in this community. And in addition to that, I also donate monthly and have for many years now. So I want to talk about why I continue to pledge and why I'm increasing my pledge this year. For me, being part of a congregation is not transactional at all. It's about supporting the health of our community, not a payment for specific services. So it doesn't really depend on how many times a month I come or what activities I do and how much value I get out of each one. And I think a case in point is in 2020, when the pandemic hit and I was participating here regularly, I started a new job that involved many, many hours of Zoom meetings per day. We were trying to navigate the pandemic and policies, and it just meant spending hours, 6+ hours a day sometimes, in virtual meetings. I did try to attend services through Zoom on Sunday mornings, and I just actually had a physical reaction that prevented me from doing that. And I was sad that I couldn't really attend services. I couldn't participate in the choir online in that way, so I did feel more disconnected from GRU. But through this time, I decided to continue to pledge. I didn't change how much my monthly donation was. And that was because I was really happy to support a community that provided connection and meaning and pastoral care and checked in with many people, even if I couldn't benefit from all of those things in the same way that I did. I was really happy to be part of something that was meeting the needs of others at such an important time. Another reason that I pledge monthly is that I've seen firsthand the impact of our congregation's contributions to the Canadian Unitarian Council and the wider UU movement. Our contributions to the CUC have helped to create programs and events for youth and young adults across Canada, as well as many, many other initiatives. And these are opportunities for youth from this congregation and from smaller congregations, really importantly, to find community and identity and connect with each other. And from personal experience, these events and connections were definitely my lifeline as a weird teenager, and where I was first able to develop some strong leadership skills, really my sense of self alongside others who felt a lot like me. And I think where I felt much more rooted in my UU identity and my faith, and that still really holds me close today. I worked for the Canadian Unitarian Council for almost 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, so I was really fortunate that I was able to participate in and help to create more of the programs like this, so I really could see firsthand the impact on youth and young adults of programs like our National Conference Canoodle, National Young Adult Conference. There was a National Pastoral Care Program, and just many other ways that youth and young adults from across Canada were able to stay connected. And those young adult events and programs did help keep me connected through my young adult years when I was not really attending a congregation regularly. So that brings me to why I will be increasing my pledge this year at the request of our stewardship committee. I'm fortunate that I'm able to do that I'm in that position, and I feel a responsibility to step up when that may not be possible for others. And at this time of change, I really want to make a commitment to our GRU community and make sure that we have the resources to navigate the ministerial transition and the other transitions that we're going through. I know it's tempting to kind of wait and see how things go, but for me, I don't feel right waiting to see if I like the new minister's sermons or if I like the way that the new music director plays Spirit of Life. I'd rather, again, it's not transactional for me. I'd rather have faith in our community and put my financial gifts towards making it happen. I know that financial gifts are just one of many ways that all of us contribute here and make our community a great place to be. But if you are able to this year, this is a crucial time to make a pledge for the first time or to increase your pledge if you have been donating regularly. Let's sustain this community with our faith and commitment going forward. May it be so. And in that spirit, this morning's offering is gratefully received.
In the beginning. In the beginning. I'll bet most of us leapt into some way of finishing that sentence. In our beginnings, we were likely steeped in a world view, some sort of mythology, a story of creation, be it God created or the Word, maybe Nanabozo's mud-backed turtle or Tiamat's tears, whether dream times every when, the Big Bang, or the birthing of Earth from a coupling of Gaia and chaos. In the beginning. We're off to a good start. And in the series of myth-making, there will also come a sequel where humans are then thrust into the story of creation and sometimes entrusted as stewards of the rest of creation. But it always seems to me that myths and stories then often trickle off when it comes to facing the mighty what's next. Here's creation, ta-da! Whoops, here comes humans, sometimes noble, sometimes bumbling, but always impactful beyond our relative size and numbers. But what happens next? The resulting gap in the narrative of creation is that we forget that creation is necessarily ongoing. We forget, to the increased peril of the earth and its many creatures, ourselves included, that our present era is neither the beginning of history, nor is it its culmination. We are somewhere in the messy middle of the story. To paraphrase the playwright, all the world's a stage and all us people merely players. We have our exits and our entrances. Today, as we observe the upcoming annual Earth Day celebration, just one day, really, let's remember, please, that nature is not a spectator sport. It's not just a hobby. It's not just, oh, it's pretty, looky there. We humans have cast ourselves variously as Earth's stewards, saviors, victims, destroyers. But in geological time and the vast universal measure from space, from the viewpoint of Artemis II, we humans are oh so temporary, so fragile, and oh so foolish to think so much of this blink of a moment that we are here. Let me now commit a Unitarian Universalist sacrilege and declare that we humans are not endangering the earth. Gasp! Heresy! No, we humans are recklessly changing the earth, and we're just making it inhospitable to human life. I mean, that's a way to go, I guess. In every decision we make, in how we live on the planet, the wars we wrought, the pollution we bear, we are continuing to create a reality that nature in turn is responding to. In this way, we are always co-creating a present moment that impacts the future. Will nature consent to keep us humans around as habitants? Today, I've asked members to share a short reflection, a poem or aspiration, as we collectively consider how we humans are co-creators with the planet. I'll continue this theme next Sunday from a theological standpoint, but for today, we offer a series of meditations by Kaya, Kathy, and our fabulous choir, Nick, Jane, and Diana. And I hope after the service, you'll share your own thoughts with one another. Let these offerings be just the start of our ongoing conversation and inspiration. The UU poet Lynn Unger shows us the way through. If we're going to be honest, it's hard to see a pathway out of this. Empathy might not be dead, but discord and division have so overgrown the field, it's hard to imagine a way to harvest peace. Of course, there's always counting on a miracle. It works in the movies, although the truth is clearly that miracles, by their very nature, are not to be relied on. Except, of course, that the caterpillar carries beneath its green skin tiny fragments of what will become the monarch butterfly's wings. The azure dragonflies you see at play by any pond or lake or stream are an echo from 300 million years ago when their giant ancestors stormed the skies. The minerals in your bones aren't different than the limestone where those fossils are found. I'm not saying it's all going to be joy and delight. I'm saying that life is long and complicated, and we belong to a family that has found a million ways to thrive. We arrive together on our Sundays here or online with hearts full of wonder, of sorrow, of worry, of hope. During today's musical meditation, you are invited to come forward and light a candle, joining your light of hope to others in this weekly ritual, as we acknowledge we need not struggle alone, that we need all of us to continue to carry the flame. Our meditation is by Clint Smith for the hardest days. Some evenings, after days when the world feels like it has poured out all its despair onto me, when I am awash with burdens that rest atop my body like a burlap of jostling shadows, I find a place to watch the sun set. I dig my feet into a soil that has rebirthed itself 1,000,000 times over. I listen to the sound of leaves as they decide whether or not it is time to descend from their branches. It is hard to describe the comfort one feels in sittings with something you trust will always be there, something you can count on to remain familiar when all else seems awry. How remarkable it is to know that so many have watched the same sunset before you. How the wind can carry pollen and drop it somewhere it has never been. How the leaves have always become the soil that then become the leaves again. How maybe we are not so different than the leaves. How maybe we are also always being reborn to be something more than we once were. How maybe that's what waking up each morning is, a reminder that we are born of the same atoms as every plant and bird and mountain and ocean around us.
Berry. Make a place to sit down. Sit down. Be quiet. You must depend upon affection, reading, knowledge, skill, more of each than you have, inspiration, work, growing older, patience. For patience joins time to eternity. Any readers who like your poems doubt their judgment. Breathe with unconditional breath the unconditioned air. Shun electric wire. Communicate slowly. Live a three-dimensioned life. Stay away from screens. Stay away from anything that obscures the place it is in. There are no unsacred places. There are only sacred places and desecrated places. Accept what comes from silence. Make the best you can of it, of the little words that come out of the silence, like prayers, prayed back to the one who prays. Make a poem that does not disturb the silence from which it came. I have this poem posted over my meditation pillow. My favorite line is toward the end, accept what comes from silence. Silence is the only time when my brain isn't filled with distractions or worries of the day. I've found I don't really know what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling until I sit in silence. In silence, I can be my truest form. Silence is where the answers to my questions come from. It's where all my best ideas come from. It's a great source of inspiration for me. Another one of my favorite lines is, there are only sacred places and desecrated places. I've learned I can seek silence almost anywhere. I've done some of my best meditating on Greyhound buses. I can make any place a sacred place by tuning into the quiet inside me and having a pair of earplugs. Being in quiet gives me energy and peace when there is none to be found anywhere else. It helps me greet challenges with empathy and curiosity rather than anger. Silence is where I communicate and co-create with spirit. Wendell Berry says, little words come out of silence, like prayers prayed back to the one who prays, and that's true. If you sit in silence long enough for the distractions of life to quiet and pass, something replaces it. Peace and calm, love, little words, and hopes. In silence, spirit can finally reach me. It tells me I am loved and not alone. It tells me I'm a vessel for its creation, and I'm comforted by that.
I had the good fortune of growing up on an 85-acre orchard that my dad managed. In my poetic pondering books, I write about this situation and my childhood, and the poem is called The Apple Orchard. There they stand, tall, sturdy, trees of yesteryear, recalled in my mind's eye to savor a time of long ago. Trees of rough bark beckon for climbing children to play, a favorite in the midst of the orchard with magical charms. The Tarzan tree, it was dubbed, with spacious limbs, enticing youngsters to swing among branches like the ape man. Carefree youths with their imaginary cheetahs clinging to their backs gave the cry of the king of the forest as they rested on a top bough. The expanse of the orchard could be surveyed from an upstairs window as springtime blossoms permeated the air. This white and pink splendor revealed a mystical bride overflowing an immense altar with matrimonial bliss. Then silken blossoms transformed into golden fruit as limbs stretched out to support ladders and picking baskets. Childhood songs rang out from tree to laden tree as little hands filled bushels to the brim. Where are these old friends from another realm Who now occupies soil where so much laughter once peeled forth? These houses of brick and clay, crammed closely one to another, know not of their heritage that lies beneath their cold foundations. But I have a key that unlocks a treasure of memories beyond compare, where the richness of childhood comes rushing back through endless seasons, when once again the sights and smells are conjured up and become mine to cherish with thankful gratitude, since the winds of time cannot erase.
I'm sharing the poem All Things Bright and Beautiful, written by Cecil Frances Alexander. She was an Anglo-Irish poet in the 19th century, and the poem first appeared in a publication called Hymns for Little Children in 1848. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. Each little flower that opens, each little bird that sings, he made their glowing colors, he made their tiny wings. The rich man in his castle, the poor man at his gate, God made them high and lowly and ordered their estate. The purple-headed mountain, the river running by, the sunset and the morning that brightens up the sky, the cold wind in the winter, the pleasant summer sun, the ripe fruits in the garden, he made them every one. The tall trees in the greenwood, the meadows where we play, the rushes by the water we gather every day. He gave us eyes to see them and lips that we might tell how great is God Almighty who has made all things well. I'm sure I first heard this poem as a hymn in my childhood church, and I liked it when I heard it. It has a really lovely melody that many of you will be familiar with. It's considered a Christian standard, and it's sung in many denominations, including our own, because it's hard to argue with words that celebrate the wonders of nature set to a nice melody. A few years later, Monty Python introduced me to their version from the life of Brian. The first verse is, all things dull and ugly, all creatures short and squat, all things rude and nasty, the Lord God made the lot. It features on a few CDs that I played before I went to work every morning, and inspirational in its own way. But where this poem holds the most meaning for me, really, is as the titles of the North American editions of James Herriot's books about life as a country vet in Yorkshire, England. And the association is always there for me. They were written and talked about a time during and after, before, during, and after the Second World War. James Herriot is the pen name of a real Yorkshire vet named Alf White, who started writing these stories in his 50s as he was retiring. His first 4 books are titled after the first 4 lines of the poem, and when I found that out, I thought it was very miraculous, and because I had liked both of them so much. If you're familiar with the books or either of the BBC miniseries, you'll know that Herriot created a wonderful world set in Yorkshire Dales, full of stubborn, proud farmers, colorful village personalities, endless sheep and cows that seem to always need help delivering their babies on the coldest, snowiest, pitch-black nights, a vet clinic called Skeldale House run by a slightly mad veterinarian named Siegfried because his mother liked Wagner, and dear Mrs. Pumphrey, who had more money than sense, and her little Pekingese, Tricky Woo, who occasionally suffered flop-bot for no particular reason. No one had much money except Mrs. Pumphrey. Services were paid for in produce quite often, but there was always a warm bucket of water, some homemade soap, and a rough towel to wash up after your job in the barn, and a tea and a scone around the fire for thanks. I love this world. When I go to Rev Jess's book club, I often talk about the fact that I really like a book because I get to spend time with the characters in it, and I like to live in the world. I loved this world. These books came to me at the perfect time. Many psychologists believe that we're hardwired to develop an ecological self, a vital part of our personality that shapes our interactions with the natural world. Children need to have sustained positive interactions with nature, animals, trees, birds, gardening, by the age of 10 in order for their ecological self to develop. If it doesn't, evidence shows that as adults, they'll be much less likely to own pets, protect natural spaces, or take part in green initiatives like recycling. My grandma had heard about James Herriot and thought these books would be a good fit for me as a child because I was a bit of an unusual girl. I was very outdoorsy, always climbing trees and collecting frogs and guppies from the forbidden pond at the end of the street. And I was also interested in becoming a vet. She gave me All Creatures Great and Small at the exact right time on my 10th birthday. I was hooked. These books hit the spot. Herriot writes with a lot of empathy for the animals in his care, always looking for clever ways to treat a puzzling case or convince a farmer to try a new treatment before sending a poor animal off to the knackers. And he also wrote with empathy for the people in the village of Derby as they do their best to care for their animals, their pets, and each other as the start of World War II looms in the background. These stories were pretty formative, and they taught me a lot about human nature, the seasons of life and death, the excitement and challenge of being a vet, respect for all creatures, and a love of British English and British humor. I think they were a formative part of my growing ecological self, meshing with my experiences in the wild, and this has influenced almost all parts of my life. My family were big campers. I worked at summer camps for years and years across Canada and the United States. I've traveled to live and work in extreme places in rainforests and mountains. I canoe on oceans. I've communed with polar bears. In high school, I worked as a kennel girl at my vet's clinic, and I helped deliver puppies, raise orphaned raccoons, comfort animals in their last moments. And I learned that since I pass out at the sight of blood, veterinary medicine was probably not in the cards for me. Embarrassing, dropped flat in the surgery, not a good look. When I became a teacher, I introduced my students to James Herriot's kids' books, like Only One Woof, and their lessons about respecting animals in our care. We learned about endangered animals, and it inspired my students to create fundraisers to protect acres of rainforest, support polar bear research, protect wolves, and plant trees. I created a forest school so my kindergartners and I could spend hours outside learning and playing. I earned a Master of Environmental and Sustainability Education. When I retired, I volunteered at the Laurel Creek Outdoor Education Center. And I'm part of the education team at the wonderful Donkey Sanctuary of Canada. And if you have some hours, I can tell you about that too. James Herriot's books and the lovely poem that is associated with them have been an indelible part of my life. They've validated my enthusiasm for nature and my empathy for animals, which has colored every part of my being. All things bright and beautiful indeed.
Well, I've already stolen some of your time this morning, so this is a short, untitled poem which I wrote this week and continue to edit from the pew. There is a regular path I walk with my dogs at the end of my street, through woods, along Maple Hill Creek. Ever changing through the seasons, a chance to breathe, to feel a part of the ever-changing cycle. Dead wood giving way to green life. A shared path following deer, coyote, squirrel, and many feathered and finned friends, earth-kind all, until human detritus wakes me from this beautiful dream. I pick it up with a sigh, take up my pen, and I try to become hope.
The events of this story occurred decades ago when I lived and worked in Massachusetts. The story is called Lunch Break. On a July noon hour, I amble up a quiet street toward the bustling sounds and promise of lunch in the nearby town center. The sidewalk warms the thin soles of my sandals. I see an animal, a large dog, reclining majestically in the middle of the street like he owns it, the limbs extending elegantly from a long body. Too lanky to be a German shepherd and very clearly a male, he watches my approach, stands and strolls to me, furry tail languorously swaying. As I let him indulge his curiosity about my scent, I stroke the thick golden grayness of his mane. There's no collar. I would have remained basking in his company for the rest of my lunch hour, but I'm hungry, so I say goodbye and resume walking. But this dog joins me, and our strides syncopate into an easy pace, our mutual trust effortless. He pauses from time to sprinkle a message of his presence. He enjoys being patted, but doesn't seek it. We reach the town center with its brick bungalows, boutiques, art cinema, and sub shop. In the shade of the sub shop's awning, I say, "You can't come in, I'm sorry." He sits. Inside, I place my sandwich order, then watch its layers being assembled, the lettuce, tomato, pickles, and turkey slices, the slather of mayo. I look sideways to see if he is still there, and he is, while admiring my sentinel's dignified silhouette. His head tilts back into a howl's lilting cadences. I pay for my sub, go outside, and we greet each other. He ignores the savory odors of my bagged lunch. We walk back down the street as we had walked up. Him as my escort, chaperone, partner. I speculate about his provenance. I'm honored by his persistent loyalty. I'll worry about its attendant obligations and his welfare when he abruptly veers away, dashing across a lawn, head down, nose grazing the grass, and disappears behind a bungalow. I still wonder why he chose me and then didn't. This experience has many meanings for me. For Earth Day, it means this. Mammals, reptiles, insects, birds, and sea creatures constantly move in, out, and around our lives. Whatever role they take with us, chosen or not, such as escorts, guardians, family members, co-workers, caregivers, deities, trophies, empaths, entertainers, athletes, sleuths, transportation, sacrifice, and sustenance, pollinators, hunters, grazers, housemates, welcomed or not, and teachers. They deserve our respect and our space, and I try to remember to feel humble and grateful in their presence.
Irish poet John O'Donoghue shares, "I would like to live like the river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding." This resonates to me each day. In Indigenous ways of knowing, all beings are alive. All life is relationship. Water's not separate from us. Water is a teacher. Rivers are alive. They carry memory. They move with intention, direction, around obstacles and challenges. They connect all life across time and space. I invite you to see rivers not as resources, but as the veins of our mother, the earth, a living network of connection, of kinship, of belonging. And when we listen, truly listen, they begin to teach us how to live. Because, like water, like the river, we're not fixed. We're not meant to be rigid or certain or complete. And yet, we hold on. We try to control. We resist the very movement, the flow that gives us life. The river asks something different of us. What if we let go? What if we trusted the current, the shifts, the changes? What if we allowed ourselves to be carried by the surprise of our own unfolding? The river does not force its way. It listens, it adapts, it responds. It shapes and is shaped by all around. And this, in its teaching, to live in relationship, to move with what is, to trust what is becoming. This is the invitation to each of us to release striving for outcomes, results, and to trust that life itself is carrying us. We belong to this living world. We are part of a sacred network of relationships, seen and unseen, known and unknowable. To return again and again, unfolding with the current of life that's already carrying us home. Surprised. I would like to live like the river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding.
Thank you all. Will you please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn number 1064, Blue Boat Home, in our teal hymnals.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away.
John Seuss writes, "To be of the earth is to know the restlessness of being a seed, the darkness of being planted, the struggle toward the light, the pain of growth into the light, the joy of bursting and bearing fruit, the love of being food for someone, the scattering of your seeds, the decay of the seasons, the mystery of death, the miracle of birth." Let us carry the flame, friends. Carry the flame. The people say, Amen.